As stocks at a record highs, one of the hottest sectors this year has been healthcare, but the Chartmaster says there could be trouble looming in this group. Carter Worth is over at the Plasma to break it down. Hey, Carter.
Hi there. Yes, so for a low beta area of the market, it's a little bit too far too fast, at least from my seat, and so I thought we'd examine that judgment. First of all, in terms of performance, just what you said, it's been hot. What I've got here, of course, is comparing healthcare, and in each slide, it's going to be the top 3 sectors over the period above. So for the past 2 months, you can see healthcare versus media versus industrials and the market. So you've got almost a double versus the market. And again, remember, a lower beta area of the market, so it's even that more impressive. 3-month performance, healthcare, 14, industrials, 12, tech, 10. Again, S&P 8. Let's go a little further. Here's 5 months. Healthcare, more than tech, more than consumer, of course, the Amazon Home Depot. So at this point, being up that much, 700 basis points over the S&P, what has happened in the past when this has happened? So I want to look at the statistics. Here's the comparative chart. First, look at how the spread is starting to widen. There was an opportunity in May and June. A lot of the opportunity has been exploited. And in fact, you're seeing that here. At this point, I'm going to take the contrarian view and make the bet that this is a little too hot and it's right to fade it. Now, talk about statistics. There have only been 5 instances, consider that, since 1989 when GICS data begins, where this sector is up 6 consecutive months in a row, check, and up 15% or more in that period, 5 times. This is the 5th. The probability of that is that. It's basically 0. Now, what has happened after that, 1 week later, 3 weeks later, 6 weeks later? Is it a crash? No. Does it mean healthcare is a disaster? No. But there is something is too far too fast. It's a little steep. It's a little uncorrected. I want to fade this. I want to write calls. I want to do something and not just hang around. Now, another way to look at that concept is where you are in relation to trend. This is the sector. It's got big names like Amgen, J&J, as you know. And here it is in relation to its 150-day moving average. How far above the line is it? Final chart. This 2-panel chart tells us where we are now. Every time that we have gotten basically 10% above the 150 moving average, this has hooked down. The stats argue for it. The sheer angle of the chart, last one, this is just unnatural. This is almost as though it's on autopilot. I want to make the bet that this is going to fade and back to the highs of January, a normal check back. Take profits, write calls, do something. That's the judgment.
Come on over, Carter.
Come on over. When did the change that you just say unilateral decision?
Not a decision. It has always been a unilateral decision.
The alternative, or I could say, no, I don't want to.
That is a possibility I've never entertained.
Like that.
All right, I have a question for you. Healthcare is a broad sector. Are there subsectors that defy the broader healthcare chart?
Right. So, well, there are 2 circumstances within the sector. There's laggards that have started to come back to life. Some of the bombed out biotech names have come off the bottom, like Allergan and Gilead. And then there are the bulletproof names that you know. It's United Healthcare, it's ISRG. Things are just these steady uptrends which have been impervious. But the net of it all is that it's the relative to the market for a sector that's lower beta than the market. And the stats argue that it's just gotten a little too popular.
Are there other sectors that you see when, in relationship to the S&P 500, you see divergences where they should either go up to meet the S&P performance or go down and check back like healthcare?
Right. So if you think about the big decision that everyone has to make is the sort of tech and or idiosyncratic growth trade over. And what we know is the tech sector's relative performance to the S&P peaked on the 25th of June. And it is still now here, October 4th, below where it was, meaning the sector itself is ascending, but there's no alpha there, right? Because we're getting slippage in some of the key names, semiconductors in particular, but across the board. Even Apple's relative performance has stalled a little bit. So from my point of view, what we've had is a lot of exploitation potential. The laggards that were lagging, like healthcare, have been played. We know that utilities were played for a while. We know that REITs were played. Even staples came up. So there isn't much in the way of lagging areas of the market. And for the market really to go higher, you need what you were talking about. You need financials to really come to life.
Well, that's going to be sort of my question. Is there anything in the S&P 500 over the last couple of weeks that indicates that we starting to maybe roll over or putting in a potential short-term top?
Well, so in terms of the reference point, we know we had that spike, right, that Friday, January 26th. The S&P is actually at that level. The S&P itself is above that. The S&P equal weight is below where it was on January 26th. The mid-cap index is below where it was on Jan 26th. The transports are below, meaning it's the clustering into a few names that have made the optics, the headlines, new highs. The aggregate is not at new highs. The aggregate stock, the median stock, is nowhere near where it was in January 26th.
It sounds like you're saying the risk is to the downside on the broader markets.
I think a lot's priced in. And I think then there's this, the way the consumer names are acting, which have been so good, those were played too, right? Losers like Chipotle off the bottom, Macy's, all of those are showing a little bit of wear and tear as we basically contend with that January spike high. It doesn't feel like it's the setup for something huge to the upside.
All right, Carter, thank you. Carter Worth of Cornerstone Macro. Pete, what do you make of what Carter's saying?
I look at healthcare, and that was specifically what we were looking at, a lot of what Carter was talking about. I see this thing, and I tell you what, I see the charts. I understand they've actually risen like they have, but the fundamental story is there. When I look at multiples there and I look at growth there, I think it's still the place to be.
Carter and his
well,
charts.
no, it's just, you know what? We all put together our pieces of the puzzle, right? For me, charts is towards the far right for me. It's one of the last things I look at. But it's still important. I want to look at it. But I look at the fundamentals right now. The fundamentals are there.